In today's episode, we are reviewing Paul Kalanithi's When Breath Becomes Air. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Elevate Nursing. My name is Nurse Kate, and on this episode, we're going to be reviewing Paul Kalanithi's When Breath Becomes Air. This book right here. So I read this book about 3 months ago, and it has taken a while for me to consolidate my thoughts on it because you'll realize along this review that the book is quite deep. So let's get into it and let's see what it's about. So it's a non-fiction. It's also an autobiographic book, and it is by a neurosurgeon who studied English and philosophy to master's level. And the author, Paul, when he got during his younger years, thought that he was going to become a writer and had envisioned that for himself, but eventually became a neurosurgeon. Now, before I started reading this book, one of my friends told me that it is overrated and he didn't find it exciting. And another one told me this is the best book that she has ever read and thought I should have read it already. So I got into it with a very open mind. And I will tell you this in summary. It's a life-affirming book and gives meaning to life in a different way. There's so many perspectives and there's so many meanings to life based on your experiences, based on things that you read, based on your education. I think this one gives meaning to life in terms and the perspectives of medicine, healthcare, religion, family, and so on. So let's get into it. I'll try to be as neutral as possible, and I will do my best not to give out any. I'll try not to give out any spoilers. Yeah. So let's get into it. Well, immediately you start reading it, then you forget the hype because he's a very good writer, and the way he presents his thoughts from his childhood going forward, and you see that it's a very holistic way of looking at life. And I will say this as a healthcare professional that getting into medicine or nursing as a second or third career is something that we ought to do more based on his own experience and based on the experiences of other people. But I appreciate him putting this out in writing because it's going to affect more people and you can see it. For example, he chose to do philosophy and English. But eventually that he intertwined that with medicine in terms of writing a book that makes a real significance in the lives of so many people. So that is what I appreciate. And I also find that he's very generous with his thoughts and his experiences. As a healthcare professional, in the beginning, you will see that he talks about going to his first and second year experiences in medical school, where he talks about having postmortems and all that. And I think that deep meaning you can relate with. I remember when we were in first year and second year, it was quite a blank slate for us, and we were wondering, what does all this mean? Because when you leave the classwork that is first year and second year, and you start going to the clinical area towards the end of second year, you wonder what it means for you as a healthcare professional, what impact you ought to have in other people's lives. So at that time, there is the morgue where it's sunset for other people, and there is sunrise for babies that are born, and there is so much meaning in between. So you start questioning who you are as a healthcare professional and how to help people make the best of the time between their sunrise and their sunset, because it's so real in a hospital when you see that. So that's the meaning that I got from this book, particularly as a healthcare professional. As in terms of religion and philosophy, he speaks about it in a very deep sense. And I remember he said in one of his interviews that when you can no longer count your life in terms of the number of years, or I have 5 years to do this, I have 10 years to do this, then you figure out day by day what it truly means to have hours. And that way you get the most out of it. And I think we are privileged to be able to peek into the life of somebody who has worked so hard. He passed on at the age of 37, and around that time was when he was finishing his training in medicine to become a neurosurgeon. And you would think, oh, now is the time to start living. Yeah. So if you are a student, or if you're anybody, a student in life, or if you're a student combine that with school and all that, you'll realize that you don't have to say, oh, then I'll be done with school and then I start living, Live every moment and live every day to the fullest. There is the immersion as well into his profession that I found he found a balance in that, immersing himself in medicine and immersing himself in a social and family life and finding an intertwine between the two. It's possible to have that. For most of us healthcare professionals, you have crazy hours of working, and sometimes you may lose sight of that, of one or the other, but most times you will realize that you're taken aback. Family and social life is taken aback, and you may concentrate so much on work and school. There is a balance in between, and as you seek that balance, you're going to find it's not impossible to find. Most people cried through this book. I have to admit that I did cry as well one time, and it consumes you, not in a way that everything else becomes oblivious, but in that moment of reading it, then towards the end, I really found myself, I found my eyes to be a bit moist. And it was, I think, about the time when him and his wife Lucy chose to have a child despite the happenings, discovering that he had stage 4 cancer of the lungs and all that. So it gives you the motivation to think that life goes on. And I cannot empathize fully with anybody who has cancer or any family that is going through that. But what I have figured out from this is that you ought to go on living no matter what. Just go on living no matter what. But everybody's experience is valid, and everybody is allowed to be sad and experience whatever feelings that they're experiencing. But remember to just go on living and do the best you can with what you have. But it's allowed to have all those emotions in between. I as well find him putting himself out there and very vulnerable at a time when you would think he would close up and think about himself and the steps of his life. I think he opens up his mind so much, and philosophy helps him to do that and to figure out that my experience would help somebody else. And I think from the writing of this book, then they have created awareness about lung cancer. The funds from this go towards the creation of awareness about lung cancer. I appreciate as well that I get to see the lives of other healthcare professionals. Do you know, sometimes you think, oh, but a doctor wouldn't be sick. I used to think that the doctors don't get sick, but well, look at us. We do, and we are human. Whenever you go into the hospital, then you see your doctor beyond his profession and as a human being, and somebody who is able to experience pain and vulnerability and fear and all that. So that holistic side, looking at that other side of a healthcare professional, is something that would be beneficial to us as patients, and see that, yeah, we are all quite vulnerable, and even as patients, we can be supportive towards our healthcare providers. There is a part that I'd like to read out. It's a paragraph, and yeah, let me read it, and then we can talk about it. He says, in the end, it cannot be doubted that each of us can see only a part of the picture. The doctor sees one, the patient sees another. The engineer a third, the economist a fourth, the pearl diver a fifth, the alcoholic a sixth, the cable guy a seventh, the sheep farmer an eighth, and an Indian beggar a ninth. The Indian beggar rather a ninth, the pastor a tenth. Human knowledge is never contained in one person. It grows from the relationships we create between each other and the world, and still it is never complete. And truth comes somewhere above all of them, where, as at the end of that Sunday reading, the sower and reaper can rejoice together. For here the saying is verified that one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap what you have not worked for. Others have done the work, and you are sharing the fruits of their work. We are not a complete unit as a person. we could be a complete unit. We could feel as though we're a complete unit as a person, but the world is run by the unification of all of us. So I hope as we read this, then that stays with us, and that we don't have to have it all figured out from day one. Figure it out as you go. In sum, what I got from this book is that we are holistic beings. We are a holistic universe. There is so much to us than what one person has to offer. So coming together would take us further than going at it on our own. And being generous with what we have, with our talents, with our skills, is going to help somebody else in the progression of the universe, as he has with his very vulnerable experience. Yet he put himself out there to help somebody else, while he figured out at the same time how to help himself. So that, I think, is very kind and very generous. I hope I haven't given out away so much from this book, but I would recommend that you read it. As well as you read it, if you're getting into healthcare, if you're in healthcare, or if you are that person that may be experiencing such chronic diseases, go at it with a very open mind. This is his experience, and he's very kind to share it with us. But go at it with an open mind and get your own experiences. And that way, you will see the world from a different perspective, because there's so many perspectives. So now we're going to have a look at the opinions of other people, and these are basically reviews that were sent in through Instagram. Etta says, I read it a few years ago, and as a non-medical professional, I found it very moving. I agree with you. I found it life-affirming, and it shifts something within you. So thanks, Etta, for your review. Jerry says, when tables turn and you get that the odds are not on your side, when you fully are informed of the end game, that's an eye-opener. Absolutely, it is. And it really points out what are the most significant things in life. Alicia says, it's one of the best books I have ever read in years, and I couldn't put it down. I agree with you. Although from time to time, have you ever read a book and thought, let me think about this paragraph, what did this guy say? You don't even consciously do it. You just take it aside and digest it. So that's what I found from this book. Anita says, it should be given for free. I absolutely agree with you, Anita. I think we should buy it and give it out to healthcare professionals. Yeah, so that's about it for the reviews. If you have any other books to recommend that we can review from time to time, I welcome you guys to do that in the comment section and tell me what you thought about this book. We'll be giving out books from time to time, so all you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting the link down below, and from there on we will be doing this on a regular basis. I hope we can be reviewing books on a monthly basis. Let me know any other books that you have in mind, and yeah, that's about it. All in all, thanks for being part of this video. Thanks for clicking on this video. And if you would like to be a part of the Elevate Nursing community, you can subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell, and you will be part of the community and get updates from time to time. As well, you can follow us on social media at Cardiac Kit or Elevate Nursing _org. Take care, you guys. Have a lovely day, and until next time, Elevate Nursing. Bye bye.